Oof. Good morning. So I'm looking down, and we're in chapter 8 of Song of Solomon. And I'll mention it now, and I'll mention it again at the end, if I remember. My brain works like a sieve. It's weird how it works. My brain is very selective. If it's Bible information, I'll suck that up easily. If it's something practical and necessary to actually survive at life, I'll probably forget it really quick. But we need to pick our next book. We need to figure out where we're going next. Maybe we'll continue back to the Pentateuch and work there for a while. But let us see here. So, chapter 8 of the Song of Solomon. I just opened my Bible as we're sitting here, and I don't even have to look at it to remember that there's some confusing stuff in this chapter. So I hope I remember how it goes. Let's see here. It says, verse 1, "Oh, that you were like my brother, who nursed at my mother's breasts. If I should find you outside, I would kiss you. I would not be despised. I would lead you and bring you into the house of my mother. She who used to instruct me, I would cause you to drink of spice wine and of juice of my pomegranate." So, right off the bat, might be a little confusing to some, but I quickly remembered. So here's the thing. Now, verse 2 is just straight up that she wants to make love with him. I mean, that's the thing. She loves her beloved. But that you were like my brother, who nursed my brother's breast. So right there, why would she want him to be like her brother? If I should find you outside, I would kiss you. I would not be despised. So right off the bat, there's some verses in chapter 8 that are a little confusing, but the idea simply is this, is that in their culture, husband and wife were not to show public displays of affection, PDA, right? It was not allowed. Husband and wife didn't go smoochy in public. But a brother and a sister, now this is thinking younger, but who nursed my mother's breast, a brother and a sister, they could hug and kiss. And I mean, that was normal for a little brother and sister to be affectionate towards each other in public. And so she's kind of thinking about this tension of, man, I wish I could be kissing you right now. I wish this was like when we were kids and you were my brother and I could just kiss you in public and no one would care. So she desires to be publicly affectionate toward her beloved, as we ought to desire to be publicly affectionate toward our beloved. His left hand is under my head. His right hand embraces me. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, do not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases. This is an exhortation we see multiple times. And off the top of my head, I can't think of any way to spiritualize it. But it definitely is, it's a very practical exhortation. That's what I was trying to say. It's early. It's Mondays. Monday, this is early for me. Every other day of the week, this is late. But Mondays, this feels early. After Sunday, I'm wiped out. But yet, just the idea that you need to be careful when you're not married. Be careful not to put yourself into positions where you're going to do something you shouldn't. So don't stir up nor awaken love until it pleases, until it's appropriate. Next, who is this coming up from the wilderness, leaning upon her beloved? I awakened you under the apple tree. There your mother brought you forth. There she who bore you brought you forth. And so this is, I think, that now we're going to start a little dialogue, I think, and this is actually maybe the beloved. My Bible says a relative, and again, that's added by translators, their assumption, interpretation. But the beloved, so they're going to start describing a scene, and he's looking at her, where I found you. And she now says, set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For love is as strong as death, jealousy as cruel as the grave. Its flames are as flames of fire, a most vehement flame. Many waters cannot quench love, nor can the floods drown it. If a man would give for love all the wealth of his house, it would be utterly despised. So it's talking just about this passionate love that they have. And like that last verse, I mean, it's like a fire. I mean, the idea is it's stronger than jealousy. It is more cruel than the grave. It's hotter than the most vehement flame. I mean, that's kind of the idea. She's using all these extremes and saying, but love is more extreme. And then she says, if someone gave everything he owned for love, well, he would be despised because that'd be too cheap. So just painting this picture of just this extreme love. Now, I think this is where we get even more interesting. Verse 8, we have a little sister, and she has no breasts. What shall we do for our sister in the day when she is spoken for? If she is a wall, we will build upon her a battlement of silver. We'll build upon her a battlement of silver. If she is a closed door, we will enclose her with boards of cedar. I am a wall, and my breasts like towers. Then I became in his eyes as one who found peace. Solomon had a vineyard at Baal Hamon. He leased the vineyard to keepers. Everyone was to bring for its fruit 1,000 silver coin. My own vineyard, I'm just going to read, is before me. You, O Solomon, may have 1,000, and to those who tend its fruit 200. You who dwell in the gardens, the companions listen for your voice. Let me hear it. Make haste, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or a young stag on the mountains of spices. We're getting to the end of the book. If you haven't figured out what the mountains of spices are yet, that's where you have to do the deeper studying. This book is full of euphemisms. Now, this is an interesting closing, and some of the tenses are a little wonky. I think we mentioned it before that in Hebrew, translating it to English, it's tough because the Hebrew tenses are not like English. Past, present, future, much of it it's implied, as far as I understand it, that there's an implication that lets you think it's future or past. But sometimes the wording, when we translate to English, people make the wrong assumption. And so sometimes it makes things flow a little different. But here's the idea. You could say we have a sister and she has no breasts. Or we had a little sister and while she had no breasts. So it's talking about the Shulamite when she was a young girl. Before she had breasts. I mean, that's the idea. There's no, simpler way of putting it. They're saying this is a prepubescent sister. And what were they going to do for her in the day when she is spoken for? So they're talking about that, they knew someday someone come a-calling and they would get engaged. And it's a good reminder in the Hebrew culture, engagement was like an agreement. It was not like our engagement. Our engagement's more like a betrothal, but it's like our engagement. We get engaged, it's kind of like a little bit of the mix of the two for them. Betrothal, Mary and Joseph were betrothed. The bride price was already paid. And to get out of that, they had to get divorced. But they had not consummated the marriage. They had not had a wedding night. But there was a ceremony at the beginning during the betrothal period. And the husband goes away for a little season, comes back, gets his bride. That's the whole idea. There's Jesus and all of that. That's so easy to see. But the engagement is unofficial. But it's an agreement that, these are going to get married. Usually an engagement's between parents. And then later on, the kids then, if it seems like that's going to go forward, that the betrothal will then take place. So like with us, I think we can break off an engagement. But with them, you couldn't break off a betrothal. You had to get divorced. So anyway, so it's talking about the day she's spoken for, right? Okay, what are we going to do? And it's really about her purity. Talking about, well, if she's a wall, we will build upon her a battlement of silver. But if she's a door, we will enclose her with boards of cedar. And so it's kind of like if she's a wall, then we'll kind of crown her in the idea with this battlement of silver. She's a wall, and we're going to put this beautiful thing on top of her of silver. And so it's kind of the battlement is the idea of something that's like a crowning piece, you might say. Versus if she's a door. Now, they're talking about her purity. Is she going to be a wall or is she going to be a door? Pretty simple terms. So they said, we're going to close her up. Well, she says, well, I am a wall, or I was a wall. And that's the idea. In fact, I think my Bible, am, is italicized. I a wall. So again, the idea is like, the am, I was, I will be. It's I am, or I was a wall, and my breasts like towers. Then I became in his eyes. And so this is the idea, is that now she's matured, right? She was pure. She stayed pure. And now she's met her beloved, right? So they looked back. I became in his eyes as one who found peace, because now Solomon had a vineyard. So this is where they met. I think the idea, again, like if you go with the Abishag theory, that she was the one that went and warmed David up, that she was taken away for a short season into the palace, but then she went back and Solomon went looking for her at this vineyard. And it was a vineyard owned by Solomon. And so he knew, that's probably why they found her, right? Because it was one of the royal vineyards, and there were people working. That's how they knew there was a girl there to bring over for David, and that's how Solomon knew where to find her. And so he's just saying, he's leased his vineyard to the keepers. Everyone was to bring for its fruit 1,000 coins. And so, and she's saying to Solomon, which is also her beloved, my own vineyard is before me. You, O Solomon, may have 1,000. And to those who keep his fruit, 200. And so just kind of the idea is, you're getting what you deserve, and all the workers get what they deserve. In a sense, I think there's a tribute here to her brothers. Her brothers helped keep her pure. That was something her family did. Her family was invested in her purity. There's a good lesson for families. And so that's kind of wrapping this up with this last chapter, much of it is a flashback, looking backward at her childhood and the things that led up to this marriage and this relationship. And so he tells her, you who dwell in the gardens, the companions listen for your voice. Let me hear it. And just telling her, that we love your voice. And then she just says, make haste, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or a young stag on the mountain of spices. So, yeah, it goes right back to the lovemaking. I don't know if I want to go to the New Testament or the Old, because what we did Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon. We did all of Solomon's works over the last while, and we could come back to the New Testament, or go back to the Old Testament. Can't remember if we did Leviticus or not. I'll have to go back and look and see what we've done for our morning studies and find out where we're going to be tomorrow. Might just be a surprise. So, all right. God bless you guys. Have a great day. And I will see all of you guys tomorrow morning. See you then.